So, hey friends, thanks for joining us again. Today, I'm going to introduce you to Audra. You're absolutely going to love her. And we have been working together for a little while now. Audra's in the Luxury Client Academy. And so I'm going to ask Audra some questions about how she's been feeling about that experience, where she was beforehand, and where she sees her business going now. So welcome to the show, Audra from Social Swan Decor. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So good to have you on board. You look so pretty. You keep saying it, but yeah, you look good, girl. So tell everybody a little bit about your business so they can see if, it's very similar to what they have. So tell us that, obviously your company, where you're located, how long you've been in business. And I also want you to talk a little bit about your background because I think it's really interesting.
I run a residential interior design business in Tampa, Florida. I started to focus on residential a couple years ago. I really love the furnishings and decor
Mhm.
aspect of the business. I have a few employees that help me. It's a really small, like lean team um, based in Tampa, Florida. I think I said that. And then what was the other
Your background. Tell us a little bit about your background.
background? Okay, yeah,
A lot of
that's
people
different.
are, it's not
Um,
different. I'm going to tell you, but go ahead. It's awesome.
Well, I had a whole previous career. I was a finance gal. I did probably, I was at 9 years. I was a hedge fund manager in New York City and then came to Tampa and did a chief of staff role. And now have kind of separated from like that life and started my own business about 4 years ago. I think it was 2021.
Gotcha. So yeah, and I want to tell you the reason I wanted you to bring that up is because I just came back from a big conference and I cannot tell you how many designers I have met that have a financial background as their first career. It's incredible. So it's so rare to find people that have that like left brain, right brain thing. And I think the industry is swarming in it right now, which is really, really cool. So I know you're going to have a lot of friends out there in the audience who can relate to what you're doing right now with your second career.
Yeah, it's been fun to blend all my previous experience and like, but in a creative environment.
Yes, and it's almost like it's great to get away from all the numbers too and get into all that creativity. But I know you bring all of that, all those numbers, all those details to pretty much everything that you do.
Yeah, there's nothing I probably like doing everything about running my business. Like I enjoy learning it all. I enjoy doing it all. Some people get kind of bogged down with the administrative side, but it doesn't bother me.
You're like, it's just another thing. We just get it
Yeah.
done. So that's just gonna tie into like some of the things that I love about you and I love about coaching you. One is that you are game for anything. You're just like, tell me how to handle this situation and I will do it. And of course, you're always 110% follow through, which is incredible. And you're just like a sponge. I mean, you're just like, let me learn, let me grow, right? You keep saying, just tell me, tell me, tell me, give it to me all, tell me all of it. I'm writing notes. That's the other thing that Audra always says. I'm writing notes, right?
I'm a data collector.
Yeah. She's like, I'm writing a script as we speak. Like we're doing it. We're doing it. So that's one of the things that helps if people out there are thinking about coaching and thinking about working with me as a coach. One of the things that I ask of you is that you just be open to looking at things maybe a different way than you've done it in the past or trying things again, but again, approaching it in a different way that you did before. And we're even going to talk a little bit about how that applies to working with Audra later on the interview. But before we do that, take us back. You and I have actually known each other for a little bit. I'm going to say a couple years. You agree?
I think so.
Yeah. Where you did a smaller program of mine called Purchasing Made Easy, and you learned all about purchasing. But then there was a little bit of time in there where you were working on your business, and then you came back to me and said, I'm looking for something else, the next step, the next level of coaching. And so you joined the Luxury Client Academy. But I want to ask you, because other people may be feeling this too, like, what made you make that decision? What were you looking for at the time before you joined the Luxury Client Academy? What was going on in your business that you said to yourself, I need some continual coaching at this point?
Yeah, first I'll say that no matter what problems you have, Pam can solve them. She's been a practicing interior designer for 30 years, so her knowledge is super inclusive. Like there's nothing you can bring to her. I could be like, Pam, there are monkeys on my site throwing tile, and she'd be like, okay, here's what we're gonna do.
Here's me
Like
to one,
she
two, three. We're going to take care of this and this.
she's done it all, and I that's one thing that I just really appreciate about her perspective. But when I decided to join, I think I had taken it as far as I could go. I had put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into starting the business, and I was probably like 2.5 or 3 years in,
Mhm.
and I think I had done everything that I knew how to do. I had learned a ton about all aspects of running a business, never thought I would be an entrepreneur. So I was proud of myself and how far I'd come, but I think I was running into roadblocks on, okay, really, like beyond this, I don't have a vision for like how I want this to grow specifically. I felt a little all over the place, and I think I wanted some high level strategy and somebody to help me think about how to take it to the next level, how to get past like what I could generate for myself. So I think that's been the biggest thing is with this program. It's like Pam's always there, like she can solve anything. It's one to one, which I really love. So I get dedicated time from her during our call. And usually I usually block the day after I talk with Pam. Like I'll set it in the morning and I'll block the rest of the day on the calendar because there's so much actionable advice that I'll just sit there and like perform all the tasks like that. I save my questions and then I'm ready to like plow through them afterward. And I just feel so unstuck, really, is
Hmm.
what happens every time. Like I bring in my problems and Pam's like, action, action, action. And I love that. It's like, what are we going to do? And we probably solve like 50 to 100 problems per session. It's really,
We do.
it's
So
so power packed.
it's good because after the sessions, you get an AI summary with all these action items and to-do lists. And every time I see those come through and then I forward them to you, I just kind of chuckle because it's like pages of stuff. But it also keeps it organized. So you can be like, listen, these are the things I need to solve now, right? And these are the things that we're working towards on a larger scale. So
Yeah,
it's
there's always a
doable,
bit of
right?
yeah, there's always a bit of like, well, I have this problem and I'm not sure how to approach this. And then there's also, okay, how are we like growing, expanding? Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
strategy in each call too, which I think is probably like the biggest thing that I needed. I needed somebody to help me think forward and see what it could be and help me dissect like what I enjoy, what I like. I think I'm still maybe even working on that, but I've been able to try a lot of different things and get some different experience.
Yes. And it's just really good to see, one of the things that we talk about in our calls, I think, are just exactly what you mentioned. It has to do with long-term strategy, how to market the business, where is it going, where do you want to grow, all of that. But then it's also, I have this situation this week with this particular, with Mrs. Smith, where this particular thing is happening, and I'm not sure how to respond to it in a way that is, kind, but also keeping my boundaries, making sure I'm not being taken advantage of so that I'm clear, right?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of what's helpful because I'm a natural born problem solver and I can probably think of 15 different things that I could do, but I don't have the experience to know which one is going to be most effective.
Mm,
So I think that's where Pam's knowledge really like I can just apply it so fast. She's just like, do that. Why don't you do this? What do you think?
mhm. Yeah.
And it's like, that's the one.
And that's it. And there we go. And then the funny thing about Audra is she is like, there is no grass growing under her feet. We are off to the races, problem solved, on to the next thing, which is super awesome. So one of the struggles that I saw before you came, or right in the beginning of our time working together, which I think you even alluded to, is that you were kind of like all over the place. You were just trying everything to, of course, get this business to take hold, to grow, to scale. And it was really just taking a lot out of you because you were definitely putting the 110% effort in. It was just everywhere. Yes.
I'm fully willing to do whatever. Like my problem isn't like what should I do? I just like I'll do it all and then I just kind of run ragged and it feels very not strategic and not intentional. And that's the feeling that I was having when I started the Luxury Client Academy.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about is, we always talk about where your referrals are coming from. You guys know I'm a big fan of, key industry partners. But one of the biggest sources of referrals for Audra's business was actually coming from a Facebook group, and she was getting incredible activity, lots of referrals, lots of things coming into her business. And that was wonderful. But when we really looked at how does that translate to quality projects, to people who have, the money to spend in the areas that we want them to, we discovered it wasn't as good a source as originally thought, correct? Because you kept trying to put them into this full scope box and they really only wanted consulting.
Yeah, that was a long arc. Like of trying to take the leads that I was getting, and I'm an opportunist. I'm like, we can fit them somewhere.
Yes, we can
And then
do it.
I was trying to like build packet, build things like on the spot that I could do. And it just was terribly inefficient. And I think that I probably would still be doing that today. I would just be cycling through leads that came in,
Mhm,
trying to, not to really qualify them, but trying to fit them in some kind of design package that I built just for them,
mhm,
based on what they need. And I think that was really exhausting. I was getting a lot of calls and doing a lot of discovery calls,
mhm.
and it was just kind of going nowhere. And it's frustrating when you spend your time doing that. And so I think one of the biggest things that's changed working with Pam, it's like I don't even really I don't even really think about those leads much anymore. They're
Mhm.
not really a part. Like a year ago, they were like all I was doing. And now
Yes.
they're not really, I don't really think about that. I don't really get many of them. I don't really, like, none of them really land on my calendar unless they're like a pre-qualified project. So it's just, it's
Mhm.
really changed everything about like how I'm laying out my week and how I'm spending my time.
Yes, and one of the things that was happening too is that you wanted to move into full scope projects, which was pretty much the whole house, or as we determined, 3 to 4 rooms minimum. And you were always like so stressed about how do I upsell this person to that bigger project because I don't want to do these smaller ones. I want to do that. And then that's when things got really stressful, right? And it just felt like you were just spinning your wheels in a way that was like, why am I spending all this time to have all these people say no, right?
Yeah, completely. And one thing that Pam, this is like the answer that Pam gave me. She's just like, I'm just like, what am I gonna do? I've got all these leads. I've got 9 discovery calls. Like I don't, and I don't think any of them are like my ideal like project type.
Mhm.
And I was like, what am I gonna do? And she's like, well, you just don't have to do it. Like, let's not even do those discovery calls anymore.
And you were just
I
like,
was like, that's an option.
I cannot, or I don't have to upsell them. I think was the other thing is, if you want these and you want them at a lower price, at a smaller container, not a lower price, but really a smaller container, that's cool. But we're not going to try to upsell them, but we're going to obviously get paid if they want that smaller container. And I think out of that 9, I don't even think you worked with any of those people. Did you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they all just went by the wayside. And one of the things that this kind of dovetails into that is because Audra wanted bigger projects, And she wanted to, what we call is, you can attract people, but you can also repel people, right? They just see that they're not in the wheelhouse of the type of projects you're looking for. I went through and kind of looked at her website, how that client experience is, how somebody would move through the process. And one of the things I realized was that it was very easy to get on her calendar. And there was no parameter as to size of project. Really, there was a few. You had to dig for it a little bit. But then we made the adjustment to say minimum 3 to 4 rooms. I don't know if you put a dollar amount minimum. You put the room minimum, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I think you said the very next week you got an inquiry through your website.
That's
That
right.
was an incredible fit.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's the kind of things that we do is I literally I look at where your projects are coming from and whether or not they're fruitful. So to know where you're spending your time, and also looking at how do we pre-qualify people. The other thing that I know we worked on very succinctly is your discovery call process. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, where you would send me recordings of your discovery calls, and then we would have a little debrief about how to set that up, what kind of script to use, how to walk somebody through that process?
Yeah, if you want to get really vulnerable, then plan to record a discovery call where you feel like you're tripping over your words and then send it to somebody who's been doing this for 30 years. Like that's a level of trust that I was just like, here it is, Pam.
At this
Like it's
point,
a
you're like,
dumpster
we're doing it
fire.
all right. We're 2 feet in. Let's go.
It's a dumpster fire. Just listen to it and make it better.
Yeah.
And I think that the shift for the discovery call for me, I think before when all these leads were coming in, I really love to help everybody and I could technically like build packages all day long for people. It just so happens that that's really hard on your business. It will wear you out.
Hmm.
And so I think where people were coming in and I was trying to like find a way to help them, I wound up creating just two service levels. And it was either they were in one or the other. And it made it a lot easier. Instead of trying to fit people in, I just was like, you're either this or this. And if you're not either, that's okay. Um, but the discovery call, it had to reflect that shift. I had to have that mentality to go into the discovery call and really get to the point with the clients. I think that
Hmm.
now that I know more about the kind of work I want to do and what my packages are or like my services are and how I want to sell them, the discovery call is that Pam helped me. I wanted like this took time to revamp this. And now I feel like when I get on that call, I have a lot more confidence. I have a lot more clarity. Pam laid out the whole script for me after listening to like 10 of my discovery calls. And now I feel like there's a lot more client leadership too. I think from my perspective, I'm getting more information than I need. And I think the client is also able to see, okay, she's organized, she's got a plan, she's going to lead me through this. And that's what I want them to see. It's just, it was difficult for me to figure out how to structure that call so I could get to that place where both of us are walking out with a lot of clarity and understanding.
Yes. And one of the things that I saw was that you were trying to be so accommodating and so nice and put the client at ease, which of course we want to do. I mean, we want to put the client at ease, but you were using the entire discovery call for that instead of having a small time to make a connection, but then leading them to your point. And that's really what I want people listening to be thinking about is when you're doing a discovery call, you lead them through a certain framework and a certain process and certain questions so that you can get enough information to know if they go to the next step. So I have a 4-step qualifying process, and this is just one of the steps, but it's a really good way to not waste your time with people who aren't a good fit. And I'm really happy. I remember getting the call from you So we had talked on the phone and I had sent you the script for the discovery call and then you had another one coming up and you were like night and day, right? You just so much more confidence, just knew exactly where that client fit, whether or not you were going to pursue them. And then even the confidence in your own, just exactly what you're offering, how you're going to offer it, and all of that. Just speak to that briefly. How did you feel after you got that nailed down? Because I heard you say, I nailed that discovery call.
Yeah, after like 10 dumpster fire phone calls. Okay, so I think that my instinct, I'm a relationship person. I like people. I really want to help people. And I think that that discovery call was such a nice place to like be chatty and set that rapport so that we both know that we're working with somebody that we like.
Right.
And that made so much sense to me. But then I think it was too fluffy. It was too much. And I think the way that Pam had me really tailor and structure that call really makes me come off like a serious professional and not like a friendly, mom chat. And I think
Hmm.
for me, I really needed that. Uh, I think it really makes, I think probably the biggest change is like how people see me on the phone call and they see that I've got a process. I'm gonna like make this easy for them. They can already sense that because I'm guiding them through points and an agenda and specific questions, and it just is so much better. I also used to try to talk about myself because I thought I had to do that and I hate to do that. And we were able to like cut that completely out. I had probably merged like 20 different discovery call scripts that I had pulled from different places, and it was just really starting to not feel like me at all
Oh,
either. And that's
yeah.
probably why I was being more chatty because I just wanted to understand the person and what they wanted to, their vision. And I think it probably stunk. That's probably why,
Well,
like
you're
why it
just
wasn't
trying to
going
be
well.
nice and
But
make a connection with people, but then at the same time, we want to take that and learn something concrete, right, about that project.
yeah,
Yeah, and then you're also now moving even past that, where you're starting because we talk about your discovery calls still, but it's more like somebody said this or they came back with that, and you're starting to recognize when they say certain words or the way they phrase things gives you a lot more indication of what kind of client they're going to be moving forward.
yeah, there are a lot of designers in Tampa, and there are a lot of different services out there. There's really somebody to help everybody. And
Yep.
so I think I just need to figure out like who I want to help and what kind of projects I want to be doing. And that's the work that I've been doing with Pam. So it's less about um, trying to kick people out of my pipeline. And it's more about just like, who is that ideal person that I want in my pipeline?
Hmm.
And I can hear now that my discovery call is clear, I can hear things. I can hear things that I know are going to come up. And I'm like, well, they mentioned this and how would I handle it?
Hmm.
I can already understand like things that I need to think about, and I need to start the project with clarity on certain pieces. So it's just
Right.
taking me to a different level where I'm not just trying to sell a
Yes.
service on a phone call.
Yep.
I'm already thinking about the long arc of the project and what questions are they asking me that are showing me that I need to bring more clarity to that when we meet, or with the scope of work or the contract? Like, where do I need to highlight pieces so they can really understand like how we're going to work together? It's way more evolved than what I was doing before.
Yeah, so these conversations that you're having are giving you indications of what people are worried about or what's of concern to them, and then you can pinpoint, like you just said, you can pinpoint your next conversation around some of those fears, some of those worries, some of those concerns, so that you really do make them feel at ease. And also, I think that people feel, oh my gosh, she was totally listening to me because now we're talking this through and she's explaining how either purchasing works or how the fees work or what's the timeline. There's so many things that are different for different people, but now you have more tools to address like specific concerns for people so that they do feel heard.
Yeah, I want to make sure it's a good working relationship, and it's my responsibility to make sure that a client understands everything about how this works. Nobody wants awkward conversations down the line. And unless you've hired an interior designer before, or even if you have, there's a lot of things that you probably don't really understand how it works. I think there's like a bit of mystery around it, and I just want to
Yeah.
make it approachable, fun. I like to have a good time. I like to get to know my people. My favorite thing is when they like at the final reveal when they cry.
Yeah,
Um,
we like to make people cry.
it's the best.
But
It's
in the
the
good,
best.
happy tears for sure.
It's the best.
Yeah, it's so rewarding, right? I mean, how do you feel about your business now that you didn't before? I would say empowered comes to mind, but what else are things that you're feeling about your business, that of evolution?
That's a good one because so much is different. I think I hit the end of the runway with what I could figure out to do myself, and
Yeah.
other designers might understand what I'm saying. Like you can,
Well, you can read books and listen to podcasts and get on Facebook groups, and then after a while,
you,
there's nowhere to go.
yeah, you can only take it so far,
Yeah.
probably.
Hmm.
Especially when you're under 5 years in business. And so to have a coach, I mean, it's just like invaluable. And I, I just rely on this relationship so much to help me think strategically. I think the thing that it's there's a lot more focus for me now.
Mm.
It's less of how do I get this going? I need pictures to I need photography. How's my website? It's like we're not in that anymore. It's kind of like how do we build this business
Hmm.
in the way that it's really rewarding for you, and that's different for everybody, but I certainly have my goals for how I want this to look. And I think without this coaching relationship, I lose sight of that. It's hard for me to see it. It's hard for me to like understand the bridge and how I'm going to get there. It's almost like it just becomes like a desert oasis. I can't really see it anymore. And I think this coaching, it's regular sessions that we talk about strategy, we talk about the bigger picture, we talk about the vision, and everything we do is designed to get us there. So it
Mm.
leaves it it has a way of like keeping the future always present and you're always looking ahead.
Yes, we keep notes. I keep notes on what your goals were, what your thoughts were, what your visions were or are. And I'm always bringing you back. So I think you bring up a really good point is that, we're getting caught up in the day to day business because there's a lot going on day to day. There's lots of balls in the air. There's lots of communication for multiple projects. And it really is very easy to get buried under all of that and then forget that bigger picture. So I think it's really good when we get together every couple weeks where we just are circling back to where are we going with this, kind of regrounding you as to what's important, what's not important. Because there's just a lot going on in terms of just making sure everybody's happy, making sure you're capturing all those details. So all that day to day stuff will pile up, of course, because that's what we are in the business of details. But it's nice to come back to this dedicated time together where we can be like, all right, this is the vision, this is the goal, this is where we're going. How do we continue to move forward to get there?
There's also, as a side note, you can probably imagine there's just like the beautiful gift of accountability when you come together on those calls because Pam's tracking everything. She asks you to update trackers and it's like, well, what happened here? And I think it's really just um, that accountability is like part of any coaching relationship that is just really lovely.
Yeah, we like to be checking on what's happening with all the to-dos and where we at with it. And then, there's a lot of things, as we alluded to earlier on Audra's list, there's lots of things because new things come up, things get off the list, new things come on the list, but we're always prioritizing what's the most important, what's going to have the biggest impact. sometimes I just tell her, don't worry about it. We're not even gonna do that. And she's just like, really? I can say no to that, or I can not do that. And I'm like, yes, because we have other things that are more important, right? So it's the prioritizing.
Yeah, it's hard to sometimes when you're in your day to day, it's hard to
Hmm.
that prioritization and somebody outside of your business who can look in is really helpful. Yeah, it's my favorite when there's something that I really am not
Oh
excited
yeah.
about and she's like, just let's forget
You
it.
know, and she's like, I'm totally cool with, I'm on board with that. She's like, I'm totally on board with that. I don't have to
Scratching
do
it
this. This
off.
is amazing. I love that. Um, and one of the things that one of the other key milestones, and I just want to bring this up, is that, um, we talked about you were getting a lot of referrals from a Facebook group and kind of understanding that wasn't as good as it looked from the outside. So one of the things that we worked on together is how you network with key industry referrals, how you create these relationships, how do you expand these relationships. So do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between getting leads, say from a Facebook group, which would have been end user clients, as opposed to now getting the majority of your leads from builders, from realtors, you have a home organizer. How do those leads different? Like how do you feel about that? What's different in terms of getting those?
That is like night and day. It's just night and day. The end users in the Facebook groups, um, I, I, those people are great. They're not always like like they don't always fall into the service areas that I want to focus on. And the thing about industry partners that Pam blew my mind with this. I did not even really understand that this was a way to do business, but it's so wonderful because you can align yourself with people that will give you the kind of business that you're looking for. It can be incredibly intentional and incredibly specific. You know, you can develop partnerships with anybody, right? But then the more you can like narrow those partnerships down to people that are really meeting the kind of people that you want to work with or
Hmm.
having the kinds of homes or projects that you're excited about,
Hmm.
it's just like it's night and day because that once you open that partnership, like the leads just keep coming and it's not just, my sister's best friend or whatever. It's like we have this person this week. I also gave your name to two other people, expect a call from them.
Hmm.
And so the way that those referrals come in, it's steady, it's consistent, and that's really beautiful for the bottom line. So I think that that's definitely something that Pam and I work on a lot and we strategize about because it's not I'm a huge like networker and people person and relationship builder, but even with that,
Hmm.
you've got to definitely bring some skill and some targeted efforts to get in front of the right people, to know who they are, to get in front of them,
Hmm.
to entice them to want to give you referrals. Like sometimes that's even the thing. It's like, how can you help them? What can you do? How can you really build the partnership? And so we talk a lot about those types of things. And even as a relationship builder, naturally, I feel like I'm always learning
Yeah,
from
it's
that
a
in that
continual
realm.
process for sure. And then
Yeah.
with those key industry partners, talk a little bit how your fees have changed, how the size of your projects have grown because you're working with those types of people.
So I, so it's a complicated question because I also this year started doing different types of projects as a result of this, which has been
Mhm.
really neat. But I used to do, my fees were lower than they should have been. And I think that that's because I just did not actually understand how to price my
Mhm.
services like because you can tune into all these and I did like every coaching call, every entrepreneurial thing out there, and nothing can really help. Nothing like a one-on-one coach with 30 years of experience is going to help you understand how to price your services based on demand, location, service type, level of skill and ability. I mean, it's like it's so complex that you can't you can't just like, sit on an hour webinar and cook something up. That's really hard to do. And I
Right.
think that's probably what I was doing, like my little calculator.
Yep.
So I think Pam's really good with that. And she also says, okay, we've done a few types of these projects. I think we should probably raise our rates now. And it's nice to have
Hmm.
somebody thinking about that for you as well. It's always like, right, like you're not in it for the rates, like you're in it for the creativity. So it's nice to have
Right.
somebody like watching out for you and making sure that you're
Yep.
charging adequately for the work you're doing because some of these projects are just a wild amount of effort and time.
Yes. And one of the things that we have talked about, and I think is worth mentioning, of course, you're going to hear over, and I've heard this, people say this, all coaches want you to do is raise your prices, raise your prices. Yes. Because 90% of the time, most people are undercharging. But my philosophy in terms of raising your prices is that it has to be a tiered approach because where I think you should be market wise and where you can confidently sell it may be at a different level. So in Audra's case, we've been taking steps to get her towards ultimately where I think she should be because I also want her to be confidently selling it. If we make the leap too far, it's written all over everybody's face when they're like, I'm charging this and I don't know and blah, blah, blah. So I think when we first started working together, you were taking generally smaller projects, maybe one room, two rooms, a couple
Mhm.
rooms here and there. Fees were somewhere around 2,500. And now you're at this point where you're doing much bigger, 4 or 5 rooms plus, and the average fees are closer to 20,000. Now, again, the projects are bigger, but even the price per room, I think, has gone up for sure. And your confidence has soared because you have gotten success at selling these higher fees and also fully understanding, which I think is awesome because this is what we want from everyone that I work with is I want you to really understand your value and step into it. And I think that you have done that. You're very confident in where your value is coming from. You're like, I know what I'm producing for that number, right?
Yeah, that's probably a lot about alignment of the right client, this process that we've gone through with the discovery calls, getting on my calendar, the intake form, all of those things, they're all part of a larger process that will get you into these better, and even the industry partners, it will all lead you toward getting projects that are better, that are more suited for you. And it's hard not to feel the confidence that comes with that because what you're doing is more in alignment with who you are and what you're interested in doing.
Yeah.
And so like I think that's like maybe that was I think one of Pam is a genius, but in one respect, I think this was so smart of her not to push me on the rates. Like she's never like we didn't even talk about raising my rates for a long time, and that made me comfortable because I'm not really trying to when we started, I wasn't trying to climb like a financial ladder. I was trying to climb like a ladder of getting this business to go in the direction that I wanted it to go.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that there was a lot of like framing around that, and it's like getting it to that point, I think is important. And she's so right because once you get there, you're just like, yeah, like this
I can do
feels so
this.
right. And I know that I can knock this out of the park. I know what I can do. I also know how long it's going to take me to do it. And
Yes.
so the pricing just becomes like a reflection of all of that. Like you know what it takes, you know more about what you're doing, you know the process, you know the project you've done, so it's like it just has it's more of like the pricing feels more organic. It's like, yeah, like this
This
is
is
what it
how it
costs because
is.
this is
Right.
I know what we're gonna get to. And
Right.
I
And
don't
when
think
you
it was that way when I started with Pam.
and when you get pushback, you can you don't even get offended by it. You're just like, I know because I've done this before and I know how much time it takes and I know how much effort I put into these projects and I know how much dedication I give each client. So we've even talked about this. I think this was a situation where they wanted you to cut your fees And I was like, well, that's fine, but we're going to cut the scope. Like, we're not just doing the same amount of work for a lesser fee because somebody has requested that. Right? You had a situation there and you went back to them and said, if this is your budget, and we also talked about, are you good with it, Audra, right? Like, are you cool if we, change the fee to this, but then cut back the scope? And the funny thing was, I believe that client was like, well, I wanted the fee to be less, but I didn't want you to cut the scope.
Yeah, but they ultimately agreed, and we cut the scope and the fee, and it's been great.
Yeah. So there you go. It's an education process. They don't even know. So why don't we talk about what's next for you? What's next for your business? I know that you and I have worked together for quite a while, and you've even said to me, I'm with you forever. We're attached at the hip, which is awesome. I love that.
No, not kidding. Yeah.
Never leaving. Never. I hope you like me because I'm here forever. Um, so what's next for you? What's next for your business?
Well, I am never gonna leave Pam, that's for sure. Um, it's a good question. I think now that I understand this big, bright new world of possibility where I can build this business in a way that suits my values
Hmm.
and my ideal lifestyle and all of that, I think it's trying to, I think we've come so far in like refining that. And I just want to take that further. I want to get to a place where I have just a small handful of amazing projects
Hmm.
and I have time for my family and time to travel. And so I think we're still like we're still working on like my ideal partners that I want to work with and
Well, you're
yeah.
learning too. I mean, as you've gone through this process, you've learned a lot
Yes.
about the partners that you have and the likes and dislikes of those relationships, and then learning more
Yeah.
about yourself, right?
Yeah, and all the relationships are great. It's just like I think there's a way where I can find like the exact type of project that I get excited about. And I
Mhm.
mean, that's probably every designer's total
Dream, of course.
dream, right? But it takes, I'm less than 5 years in the business. So I understand that that's going to take some time. But in the meantime, I'm getting all this great experience. I'm working with awesome people. I
Hmm.
have great clients. I have no complaints. I think for me, it's all about like refining and focusing and strategizing for what the future looks like.
Yes, and I think that when you say something like I'm only 5 years in the business, the thing that I think of is, wow, I wish I had found somebody to help me refine my focus so early on in business. So yay for you because it took me many, many years, over 10 years to kind of get it figured out. And just having that opportunity to kind of both feed in right away, figure out what you like, what you don't like, what suits you best, what kind of lifestyle you want for you and your family, what works for you. I think that that is incredible to do, so early into business. So that's actually
Oh,
really awesome.
thanks, Pam. See what a
Yeah.
great cheerleader. See what a great cheerleader she is.
Yeah, I'm totally for having a business that doesn't put you 6 feet under for sure. So you also attended the Naples experience a few months ago, and I just wanted to have you talk to the audience about how you felt that experience was, what you felt the advantages were, some of the people you met, some of the experiences that we have. Can you talk about that a little bit? It
Oh, that
was the
that
bomb.
was it was really, 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 really amazing. I think that that trip exceeded my expectations. I already thought it was going to be amazing, but it was it was like so fantastic on so many levels. First of all, like, oh, okay. Pam attracts Pam attracts good people. And so it was really fun to meet some of her other coaching clients, and we hit it off so well. Like,
Mm,
these gals are awesome. And there was so much to learn from each other. We were like chattering nonstop, like, well, what
yeah.
do you do about that? And how do you do that? It was just the camaraderie of it was really nice. And I still keep in touch with those designers that I met, I was messaging one last week, like, hey, do you have a CAD gal? And so
Yeah.
she's sending me people. So it's just like the connection is so important. As we know, we all work by ourselves in our offices every day.
Hmm.
And the other thing was the access to Pam had scheduled all these amazing activities where the we were sitting down with people, local professionals in Naples, and we were able to ask them honest questions about what they want from a designer and how they like to frame, like builders, and it was just it was a neat opportunity to connect without any strings attached,
Yep.
and ask some tough questions. And then we had a blast together. Oh my gosh, did we have fun? That's number three
Oh yeah,
and
we had
four.
so much fun. Yeah.
And then the other thing was I loved it, felt very much like a trend event where you get to go and see trends like at High Point, or because Pam had organized this amazing um, tour with a realtor who specializes in residential real estate in Naples. And she took us around to these houses that were amazing. And we got to talk about like all the details, like the counter heights and the soffits and the tile lays. And, it was very for me, I was like, it's so great to be exposed to what super high-end real estate looks like. These were all houses that were on the market, and we saw such a wide variety that like
Oh yeah.
I still think about that trip like all the time, every day.
And one of the things you even said about that, which I thought was worth mentioning, is that you were like, I was looking at how they did certain details, like how they executed it in these houses, because it's so nice to be able to see how this countertop runs into, the cabinet detail, or this molding detail is handled in this way. I know you were mentioning specific, you're like, I'm sponging all of this because I wanted to see it in person was really helpful in terms of how to execute it, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sitting in the back of the car between houses, just like furiously writing notes. It
But
was
this is what I
very
saw. This
cool.
is what I'm doing. Yeah, this is, and one of the aha moments that we all had was, we went through some really lovely homes. They started at, I think, well, the first one was 2.5 million, right? The one on the bay was like 2.5 million. Then we went to 9 million. Then we went to 19 million. Then we went to 35 million.
Hmm.
And we saw design in those houses, design details that were not well executed, which was very surprising. And in fact, we were in a home, I think it was the most expensive home, where they had not even hired a designer, which was also really surprising and a great lesson, though, right? Just because somebody has $35 million to spend doesn't automatically mean they're going to hire a designer.
I mean, I wrote a blog about this after because I was just like, I can't. It really helped me understand, like, it helped me. It was like new level unlocked about the value of a designer.
Mm.
Because if you walk through a $35 million home and you're like, what's that? You know,
Why
like,
did that happen? And then you're like, oh, they didn't have a
I mean, I
designer.
asked Pam, I was like, what's up with this like Home Depot, like, what's going on? And she's like, they didn't, like, she knew immediately. She's like, this was done by the homeowner. And what a great opportunity to see that.
Yes. And to understand that just because it's a certain level of home doesn't mean that they have to or they will hire a designer. And to know some of those differences to be able to speak to that. So I think that was, and to see it all in 3D and to see different levels. I think a lot of us, we were just chatting about which of these homes would you choose, and almost all of us were like, I'll either take the 2.5 million or the 9 million.
The
Like
nine for me for
we didn't
sure.
even, yeah, the 9 million was so
Loved it.
adorable. So it was really interesting to see. You would think that we would all be like 35 million, but nobody picked the big monster that was actually literally on the beach with ownership of the beach. But nobody
And
picked that one.
what a cool, what a cool, different and new way to understand the value that you bring.
Mm, yes. And while we were being toured around by our good friend Kelly Capolino, who's the realtor, she was also giving us great tips on how to work with realtors in our area, how to approach realtors, how to offer value to realtors, because a lot of times we don't bring opportunities to realtors. We're always just saying, give us your clients, right? And she gave us some great ideas on how to flip the script on that and make it very appealing, right?
Like even just in the car. Like every layer of this experience was like just kept delivering.
Yeah, it was fun. And we already got the date set for next year, so we're gonna be announcing that soon. So
Excellent.
I hope everyone that's listening will also be there. So one of the things I want to say while we're wrapping up this interview is that I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
You
thank you.
have grown so much. I was never really doubtful that you would be a pleasure to work with, but you're an absolute pleasure to work with. So much fun. We have a great time. It's like we're two girlfriends on the call, but we're also working, right? We're doing all the things that we need to do. But thank you so
Definitely.
much for just, entrusting me to your baby, which is your business, not your baby, but your business,
Mhm.
which is also your second baby. And I really just love working with you. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what we accomplish over the next 6 months together. It's fun. It's really fun.
Absolutely. Like ditto. Cannot do it
Same.
without you. Cannot do it without you.
Yep. And same. So why don't you tell people where they can find you? So if they want to, follow you or look at your website, what would be a good place for people to connect with you?
My business name is Social Swan Decor, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on my website. And yeah, feel free to like follow along, send me a
Awesome.
note, ask me questions.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, Audra's so open and everything. So thank you so much, Audra, for being here, for being open, for being honest, for telling people, what's going on in your business so they don't feel so alone about what's going on in their businesses.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate you taking the time and hanging out with me today.
My pleasure.